train wreck of a conversation. Shapiro watched that train wreck of a conversation between JD Vance and Dana Fash and said, JD Vance wrecks Dana Fash in insane propagandist interview.
Now entered week 2 of Catgate. This is the argument of whether Haitian immigrants are eating cats in Springfield.
Dude, no. You don't get to say, oh, it's so silly, Catgate. Your guys made it up. Your people made this up, okay? You can't just like, ugh, God, it's Catgate. How silly. Like, what do you mean? Oh, God, it's such a silly story. It's like, yeah, okay, if it's a silly story, what the are your people lying about it so regularly?
Ohio. Now, as I mentioned last week, there are very serious issues regarding Springfield, Ohio. Issues about the impact of mass migration, about giving temporary protected status to tens of thousands of people without vetting them. Those are real issues.
That's not true. In order to get TPS, you do get vetting. So that's also literally, he just lied right out the gate.
Massive social services burdens. It creates problems of cultural integration. It creates problems of crime. It creates all sorts of issues.
Remember what I told you about Ben Shapiro being like the smarter conservative? I mean, obviously there's a limit to how smart you can be as a conservative propagandist, but there it is, you know? He's like, oh, there's problems of cultural integration. It's like, yeah, no, there isn't. Okay. What's the problem with cultural integration? Why would there be a problem with cultural integration? What are the cultural differences?
When you take a town of 60,000 people and just add on 20,000 migrants from Haiti because you want to staff up the local factories as though you couldn't.
For reference to fact check Ben, yes, people interested in TPS must file an application with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. All individuals applying for TPS undergo security and background checks as a part of determining eligibility. Of course, it has background checks.
Find anybody anywhere else in America to do any of that. Now, that's kind of a problem. However, it seems to me a distraction to be talking about whether they're eating the dogs and eating the cats. Now, remember, that started off as kind of a originally mentioned by J.D. Vance because some of his constituents had mentioned to him reports like that. And then Donald Trump took that and ran with it during the debate and expanded it to not only eating the cats, but also the dogs and also apparently other household pets. And that, of course, became the living meme from the actual debate. There's a remix of the Trump eating the dogs, eating the cat song that absolutely slaps. My kids love it. I'm not even kidding. That's a real thing. However, it would be about time right now.
Are they talking about megaphonics? Did Ben Shapiro's children watch megaphonics? Did Ben Shapiro's kids watch the megaphonics remix? I really hope there's a noticeable bump in the polls for Donald Trump. I really hope there's a noticeable bump in the polls and it's single-handedly caused by megaphonics. That's awesome. My 65-year-old dad showed me megaphonics' remix and I was dying. Oh my God. He's probably talking about this.
Hello and welcome to the first. Nihilism is now cringe and boring.
I don't care.
Tonight.
But prices got out of control.
I don't know if this is the one. Could be this.
In Springfield, they're eating the pets. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
There's a TikTok one too, probably.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Yeah, oh yeah, this song. This song popped off on TikTok.
Cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
I had at least 4 MAGA gym rats blasting it at the gym. What? They went in the then we hit the hot tub and during the lotion sessions, they were replaying it again and again. It was diabolical. For the record, I've been DMCAing everyone who tries to re-upload it and they all get copy strikes on their channel, lol. I don't know, man. Take a day off, chatter. Anyway, let's continue.
For the Trump campaign to focus in on, the fact that Kamala Harris is an awful candidate who believes terrible things and won't make clear any of her positions. It seems like it should be about that. The media have one job and one job only, and that is to turn this campaign into a on Catgate. That is what this is all about. It's foolish. It makes no sense. The media have decided that this is a major issue that they're going to push over and over and over. They're doing it largely as a distraction. So, for example, J.D. Vance yesterday was with Dana Bash, and Dana Bash for like 17 minutes asked him about the eating the cats and the dogs thing. And Vance just wrecked her. I mean, he really did.
Really? So you're upset about Donald Trump having a policy-free candidacy? You're upset about him not like calling to attention how bad Kamala Harris is? But then you're also personally saying that he did a phenomenal job? Bro, Forgiato Rose? What? Oh my God. Well, true love always finds a way. Thank God. Thank God she found true love again. Sean called this. Wait, no, you did? She only dates the best rappers? True. I've been said they was smashing. Do you think that was the finger that went up Kanye? I don't know. Probably not that finger. It'd be hard to put that in there. I always assumed that she was using her thumb inside of Kanye's booty hole. Anyway, let's get back to JD Vance.
There's one point during this interview where he calls her out for just sycophantically presenting answers to Kamala Harris during the only other interview that she's done during this entire campaign cycle. Here he was.
Would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy, but if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this?
Okay, so that happened to be a really, really good point. But she wasn't there to ask him questions and get answers. She was there to browbeat him. So the same day that somebody allegedly attempted to shoot Donald Trump again, Dana Bash spent 17 minutes implying that J.D. Vance was responsible for bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio because of Catgate.
Nobody is disputing that the town of Springfield, Ohio needs help. But you're not just a bystander. You're the senator from Ohio. So instead of saying things that are wrong and actually causing the hospitals, the schools, the government buildings to be evacuated because of bomb threats, because of the cats and dogs thing, why not actually be constructive in helping to better integrate them into the community?
Dana, first of all, let me just respond to a couple of things that you said, but I want to start with something you said, which I think is frankly disgusting and is more appropriate for a Democratic propagandist than it is for an American journalist. There is nothing that I have said that has led to threats against these hospitals. These hospitals.
Is he going to show the most important part that, like, the media is talking about? I wonder. Because, like, I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody gives a fuck about the Sunday programming, okay? This isn't like 1987. They care about the highlights. And the highlight of this conversation is JD Vance openly admitting that he made it up.
Hospitals, the bomb threats and so forth. It's disgusting. You just accused me of inciting violence against the community when all that I've done is surface the constituents, people who are suffering because of Kamala Harris's policies. Are we not allowed to talk about these problems because some psychopaths are threatening violence?
In the middle of this interview with Dana Bash, the media attempt to swivel away from Dana Bash having an awful interview with Kamala Harris and J.D. Vance calling her on it to focus on this clip. While the media are fact-checking Donald Trump on eating dogs and cats, the Harris administration continues to claim that illegal immigration is not a big problem at all because they're lying, just like they're lying about not coming after you for taxes. Are you still struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Handling this alone? Say. So, in this clip, J.D. Vance says that his constituents have been complaining about the eating the cats thing, right? And that he has surfaced that and he has elevated that complaint as sort of the tip of the spear in order to put focus on the problems in Springfield, Ohio. The way—
Oh, he is talking about it, but he's massaging it. Wow, just let it sit, Ben. Just show it. Ben, show it. Come on. An ad in a 9-minute vid is diabolical, bro. He puts like 2 sometimes. He's crazy. He's got to be pissed, dude. There's just— Wait, what?
It's popular on a lot of corners of the left to say that we have a both sides problem. And I'm not going to say we're always perfect. I'm not going to say that conservatives always get things exactly right. But you know the big difference between conservatives and liberals is that no one has tried to Kamala Harris in the last couple of months. And
he almost said we haven't tried to Kamala Harris. What is this? Murat got fans?
Now have tried to Donald Trump in the last couple of months. I'd say that's pretty strong evidence that the left needs to tone down the rhetoric and needs to cut this crap out. Somebody's going to get hurt by it, and it's going to destroy this country. Somebody is going to—
What the— Blessed enough to meet the Superior Park. Murat, you took a photo with a fan today? Oh, he posted it on Twitter. He said, blessed enough to meet the Superior Parker at work today. Thank you for single-handedly putting that satellite into orbit. Hashtag celebrity. Hashtag Murat Nation. At Hasan the Hun. Tell your brother I say thank you. That's crazy. Murat is the GOAT. Undisputed champion. Anyway, getting back to this conversation of him just being like, nobody's trying to Kamala Harris. That's a crazy thing to say. Okay? That's a crazy thing to say. I can't believe the vice presidential candidate for the— I mean, I can believe it. JD Vance is dumb all the time.
out. Somebody's going to get hurt by it, and it's going to destroy this country. Somebody is going to get hurt, and you think about what an incredible wound it would open up in the United States of America. All of us, and I promise I will do my part to tone down the rhetoric, but in—
Bro, by the way, ain't nobody shot to Kamala Harris is wild. Like, on our side, he's like, on our side, nobody shot to Kamala Harris. Is like, bro, both of the shooters were registered Republicans, dude. Like, what are you talking about? One guy was a registered Republican who couldn't have voted for Donald Trump because he was too young. The other guy did vote for Donald Trump in 2016. It's like, I said this last time when we found out that the shooter was a registered Republican. I was like, these guys are so used to being one note and doing political violence that they inevitably do it to themselves. But it's crazy that he's over here being like, come on, please, someone try to Kamala Harris. That's crazy.
Particular, the people telling you that Donald Trump needs to be eliminated, you guys need to cut it out or you're going to get somebody hurt. And I know it's popular on a lot of corners of the left.
Is there actually militant anti-Trump on the right? Not necessarily, but there's a lot of militant people on the right, and there's a lot of cranks on the right.
The way that the media decided to interpret this is that J.D. Vance made up out of whole cloth the claims about people eating cats in Springfield, Ohio. That he made up a story in order to get attention. That's not what he's saying.
He did say that, and everybody heard him when he said it. Just play the clip, man.
They're lying about what J.D. Vance said, and it's pretty obvious from what he said that they're lying about what he said.
I'm talking to my constituents and I'm hearing terrible things about what's going on in Springfield, and Kamala Harris's open border policies have caused these problems. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast. I say that we're creating a story.
Wait. Why is he jumping through? Why are you jumping? No, point to the moment where he got caught. Come on, man. That's the good stuff. That's weird. What the
story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. I didn't create 20,000 illegal migrants coming into Springfield thanks to Kamala Harris's policies.
Okay, so he's not saying that he made up the cat story. He's saying his constituents are telling him this thing. He's elevating their complaints, and then he's quote unquote creating a story in the same way that the media create a story, meaning creates a narrative around a true story or a story that has been reported by his constituents. The media decide that they're going to run with this idea that he made up the cat story out of whole cloth, because what they want more than anything is to distract from the actual issues of the campaign. Here is Josh Shapiro, the person who is not picked for vice president of the United States by Kamala Harris because he happens to be a Jew, on State of the Union doing his damnedest.
The governor of
dog, you're a Republican. Like, why do you even care about the Democratic Party's like snubbing one vice presidential candidate over the other?
Ohio, the mayor of that town in Ohio, has said this is all made up. These are all lies. There's no truth to it. And the United States Senator from Ohio just came on your show and blamed his own constituents for his own lies. This guy's so pathetic, but the thing is, it is dangerous. There is a causal connection between the BS that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump spew and the safety and security of the American people.
And so, again, they're going to try and spin this into another Charlottesville hoax or into another bloodbath hoax. This is what they're going to try to do. It's nonsense. Don't fall for the propaganda.
Another Charlottesville hoax? Like, dude, you're such a cowardly little. It's so crazy. Being an Orthodox Jewish man who simultaneously has the ride for Donald Trump and the Republican Party is so funny. He's just over here. He's over here being like, yeah, the guys that said Jews will not replace us, you have to defend the president who defended them. That's awesome. Yeah, Ben Shapiro definitely cares about anti-Semitism, by the way, for sure.
Now, with that said, Trump and J.D. Vance need to be focusing full-time, meticulously on Kamala Harris's record, on her switches of positions, on the fact that she is a liar, on the fact that, as Vivek Ramaswamy...
Like, this man literally looks at Jewish people, okay, who are anti-Zionist, and unironically, with a straight face, says they're anti-Semitic, the most anti-Semitic people in society. He looks at college protesters who say, like, what Israel's doing is unconscionable. He says these guys are the most anti-Semitic people. They need to be put in prison. And then he has to sit there and be like, yeah, the movement in Charlottesville that were protesting in the streets saying Jews will not replace us. Yeah, those guys, some of them were very fine people, actually. Okay. When Donald Trump said some of those guys are very fine people, I felt it. And I think it's crazy. That's a hoax that the media is representing that as anything but Donald Trump saying some of them were very fine people. Cool stuff.
He said on this show last week, she's the face of the machine. That is what they need to be focusing on. And if they do that, they will win. And they need to be focusing, obviously, on the hardcore ground game that Democrats are so good at. That's going to be the election. But the bottom line is this. Today, I think we should all be, once again, thanking God that Donald Trump was not shot. Today, once again, we should be recognizing that we are one bullet away from a vast cliff that no one knows what.
I don't understand why they say it was a hoax. Can you explain it? Yeah. After Charlottesville, when protested in the streets, and then one of those terrorists, actually a counter-protester, an anti-fascist, Donald Trump came out, very fine people on both sides, okay? This was a very famous moment in his administration because people were like genuinely shocked that a sitting president openly caped for, right? Like straight up, not even like regular old like suburban Hitlerites. I'm talking like dudes who got swastika tattoos, dudes who were like waving the swastikas, and you know, just regular old run of the mill, like out and about, right? Like the kinds that are in Ohio marching, okay? And it was truly unique to have a president in recent times openly look to that and be like, yeah, there's some very fine people on that side as well. I thought that was about a Confederate flag statue protest. Yes, that was where that happened. Yes, the Unite the Right was a rally put together by, and their goal was to protect a Confederate statue. In that protest, they were chanting, Jews will not replace us. Okay? It's one of those stories where the context makes it more damning. You know what I mean? Like Republicans can only, I guess, get away with it because it happened a while ago and people don't remember the exact details. So they'll act like there's context that actually makes it better for them overall. But when you actually look at the context, you're like, oh my God, this makes it so much worse. So you mean to tell me that it wasn't just like protesting against like, I don't know, gun control or something. They were just straight up also protesting at the behest of the Confederacy and defending it. Okay, that made the analysis worse for you. That's why when they can only get away with being like, oh, Charlottesville's a hoax and just like hand wave it away. So you should ask them, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by how it was a hoax? Like they weren't out there fucking protesting against breast cancer. They were out there to protest against a Confederate statue being taken down. Okay? Like, so, you know, you can't even do this like liberal style debunking that liberals love doing. Like the fact check, please. What the Sigma? Can we get a fact check, please? Like you can't even do that. Republicans can never do that because when you look at the actual facts, you're like, oh my God, it actually seems even worse than before. I forgot some of the details of the story. And now that I know some of the details of the story, I have realized that it's worse than I thought it was.
What's going to happen if we fall off of it? I mean, I felt this way on July 13th. Thank God Donald Trump avoided that bullet. It was an act of God that he avoided that bullet July 13th. Yesterday, he avoided another assassin. You know, this is a country that feels like it's on the precipice of something quite terrible. And there are only a couple of things that can be done to prevent it. One is obviously better Secret Service.
I'm confused how Jews will not replace us makes sense at a Confederate statue protest. It's not that confusing. The Confederate, okay, it was a statue of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was a loser, but even Robert E. Lee on his deathbed said that there should be no monuments erected in his honor. Robert E. Lee's great also are very much anti-Robert E. Lee statues being erected. Many of the Confederate statues and Confederate monuments and Confederate schools that were named after generals weren't actually named in the immediate aftermath of the Civil War. Many of them were actually erected in the Civil Rights Movement. Now, do you want to understand why someone in a southern town would actually erect a Confederate statue during the Civil Rights Movement? Why would they do that? It's, you know why they would do that. It's to tell you what the racial pecking order is, okay? That's precisely the reason why a lot of these statues that were erected, these monuments, were put outside of courthouses, for example, as a somber reminder to know whose country you're in, okay? So if you think that, personally, it's weird that it would be in defense of the Confederate, in defense of the legacy of the Confederacy, I don't know what to tell you. The Confederacy fought to preserve slavery, okay? They fought to preserve slavery for white people to be able to own black people as humans, or not as humans, sorry, but as chattel, okay? Why didn't I know about this? Well, because you don't watch my broadcast. Well, I guess you do. 23 months. You should know about this. I've definitely talked about it a lot, both in the past and continue to do so.
But the other is people need to stop proclaiming that people on the other side of the political aisle are going to full-scale destroy the country and are Hitlerian figures. They should not do that, because the more you say that, the more you are making it real. And that is something that, unfortunately, the media seem to have no intention.
Yeah, no, don't tell Trump to like
the
dial
NYPD
back.
says
Don't tell Trump or JD Vance to dial back the, okay? Yeah. That's a story where he literally defended JD Vance being like, yeah, I made that up about like immigrants eating cats and stuff. That's not violent rhetoric. Saying Trump is doing Hitler speeches when he objectively is doing Hitler speeches, that's really violent rhetoric.
Police open.
Anyway, speaking of violence and how commonplace it is in our day-to-day existence, let's get to New York.